Hello and welcome to My Voice podcast. I'm Alex Wilkinson, a sport and exercise psychology student from Loughborough University. I'm currently on an internship with Sport and Communities, who are a community development organisation that supports all members of the community, from young to old, across a broad spectrum of needs. This podcast is part of the My Voice project, a national community lottery funded programme that helps to give young people a voice in their community and a platform for creating change and social action. Thank you for taking the time to join me, and welcome to My Voice podcast.
Today I'm joined by two guests. We've got Dave Richards and Ben Oakley on with me. How are you both? Are you okay?
Yeah, good, thank you, mate. How are you?
Yeah, I'm very well. It's great to have you back on here, and a warm welcome to yourself, Ben. How's lockdown been for yourself?
I'm not too bad, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, no, I'm well, thank you. I've been back out coaching in Tamworth now, it's good to be back out there doing some sport sessions again. Today's podcast is going to be based around music and social media influences, how they influence young people, and specifically the effect that music has on the younger generation. Because I know growing up a few years ago, there wasn't as much publicity. And there certainly wasn't the same following with social media when you are actually following the lives of these superstars, rock stars, rappers. So we're going to be discussing about how music really influences people and whether we really do think it has effect on our society. As a start, a bit light-hearted, just want to see what kind of music genres you're both into. For myself, I'd say I'm quite into more dance music, and then also going over to some rap and a bit of R&B, so quite varied. But I was just wondering, what are you into, would you say, Ben?
At the minute, I've recently been enjoying a lot of I wouldn't say too old music, but like early this century type of music.
Yeah, early 2000s.
So like your people such as Mika, I'm enjoying them at the minute.
Yeah.
And Keane and Oasis.
Nice. I like it. I like it a lot. What about yourself, Dave? What would you say you're into?
Mine's varied, really. It depends on my mood. I think I'm like big into me dance music, like you said as well. It's like, for me, I like going to festivals and that sort of thing. And there's being involved with that, with all the music in that way and dancing and that sort of thing is really right up my street. But I like me 80s music as well, which is just randomly 80s for some reason. So particularly for me, yeah, it's definitely those two sort of, that genre and that era of music. Anything in the 80s, I really enjoy.
Because it's interesting, I think, as we get older, the music changes, and more recently, I'd say probably in the last 10 years, there's been a real uprising from street music, particularly drill and grime music. Now, it comes with a lot of heat in the media, as a lot of the lyrics are actually based around violence and criminal activities, drugs, guns, stabbing, and they're very graphic. And it's been in the media limelight recently, asking the question whether this music should be allowed. Now it's interesting because obviously these young people are actually expressing themselves, and they're expressing what they're seeing on a daily basis. So the question for you both really is: do you think that grime and drill music would influence young people that are listening to it to sort of make these criminal activities seem less of a negative almost? What do you think?
I'm going to sound really old in a lot of respects. That I mean that when I go out to a session now and speak to young people and they go, "Oh yeah, listen to this music, listen to this," and I'm going, I can't tell the difference between the music. It's not to say that I'm not not enjoying the music.
You can't tell the difference between the songs. It sounds the same, you mean?
Yeah, and I think when we talk about the lyrics, you listen because you're not listening to the tune as much. You listen to the lyrics, and I think I think it can influence in some way because you see young people acting the way that they see those, what's going on in those music videos or what's going on in what the lyrics are saying. But I think it depends really, because if you listen to some of the lyrics around it, there's a massive variation about actually what the lyrics mean with grime music, and I think we're definitely in that era of grime music and everything that's sort of here now particularly in the top 40 charts or whatever it is. You find that that's the case.
And you find a lot of these grime artists and drill artists, they're very talented men and women, and they rap about what they see and they rap about their lives, and that's them expressing their life, and they see it as a gateway. They see it as a way out of their current situation, because if you can make music, then that provides a way out of areas and communities and a lifestyle which you really don't want to be part of. But coming with that, they sort of obviously speak about what they see. So there's always that debate about you can't ban music, you can't ban them singing and rapping about what is happening, because that's still going to happen. It's just whether there would be as much violence without the uprising of obviously recent media being able, everybody can access these songs. Ben, a question for yourself. Do you think that there should be age restrictions on different types of songs or different types of genres? Because it does come with expletive material, explicit material, and whether there should be age restrictions on them, just like there is with films.
It is a tough one, really, because obviously, like you say, they're rapping or singing about their own experiences, which obviously to some extent it's good, because in quite a few, in some songs you'll hear them change their personality. Mm-hmm. So some of them may be seen as positive, but most of the time they do quite have a negative effect on people, in my opinion. So age restrictions on music. I guess before a song's ever released, perhaps it could go through some kind of company or people who would listen to the song and then say what age group it's suitable for, possibly.
Yeah, because I think with a lot of these modern songs, I mean, there's a lot of swearing, but there's a lot of graphic descriptions as well, especially in drill music. I wish I had a clip that I could play with you. And they often describe about scoring points about opposition gangs and about stabbing, and that almost creates a feud online, because then another rival gang will also release another song, another music video fired back at them, and it basically creates an online feud, and they go and they basically go to war with each other, which is a sad reality. But I just feel like there should be some type of restriction. I mean, the Met Office said that they've taken over 40 videos offline off YouTube and places like that are glamorizing and inciting violence. So it's interesting that they have done that. But I think even more mainstream music, obviously in the radio they bleep out swear words and things like that. But there's a lot of songs, a lot of genres that maybe aren't appropriate for all ages, and especially in terms of a lot of male artists and female artists can sexualize men and women, and that's not always appropriate for those young people that are listening. So it's just an interesting debate. I don't know what your thoughts on it, Dave. Do you reckon there should be a age restriction for some songs?
No, I think it's hard to sort of say what it's what type of, because when we make the process of making a film or the process of making a game for a console or what have you, it's not everyone that can do it. The problem that we're finding is as well that we're seeing YouTube influencers, KSI, Logan Paul, and any others, Joe Weller, any others that I'm aware of, are coming out with what they call I can't remember what they call the like videos where they just literally go at each other.
Diss tracks.
What's say? Sorry, Ben.
Diss tracks.
That's it. Diss tracks. Yeah. So I look at it and I go, how can you cover? You can't govern that because it doesn't go through any record labels.
No.
I think.
But obviously, they do that to try and create more social media sort of impact. More people follow it, more people like it, watch it, and it creates more drama, doesn't it? That's what people like. It's a new way of watching and seeing drama.
Yeah.
A lot of it is to basically, from my point of view, a lot of it is that getting that social media likes because that's their business, and that's the way that they generate any income.
Yeah, so they make money out of drama, don't they? That's the basis of it.
100%, and it's an interesting sort of interesting perspective on that really, because they're using music and they have been releasing music as well, and it has gone out onto platforms like Spotify, YouTube, and again that's freely accessible. You don't need an age limit to access those particular those platforms either.
Especially
I remember on albums used to have
no age restrictions, but I know YouTube have literally a click of a button. You just say that you're over 16 or over 18, don't you? There's no real limit to it. I mean, if you're savvy with technology, it's easy to come by, isn't it?
I mean, all you have to do is manipulate your date of birth, and that's the problem. That it's not as stringent, it's not as strict. So I know that if you wanted to go, if you were buying an 18 rated film and you're 17, you're going to have to show ID for ID.
Yeah, definitely. And you see this a lot in supermarkets. I remember I got ID'd for a game when I was much younger. I think I was about 16, but I was buying a 15 rated game for Xbox, and they ID'd me, and rightly so. But you don't get that for music. And I think sometimes listening to a song, or listening to an album, or listening to a genre can really persuade you or normalize and glamorize a certain lifestyle. And people may not have many real world experience, and they actually only listen to one genre, let's say. They'll think that's real. They'll think that's real life. That's how they should behave. That's how they should act. And I think for especially young children who can be so easily influenced via media, I think there's got to be something in place. But that's not to say that violence in cities has come from genres like drill and grime, because it's come from other issues. But I do think that fuels a massive fire. I think it really does bring it to light. But same with films, isn't it? Films and video games. You both have probably watched films when you were younger and been scared by them, or been exposed to more graphic films and things like that. And it stays with you, doesn't it?
The problem is it's gone at the times where we had to. You're exactly right. Yeah, it sticks with you. But I think that with the new generation coming through, they're not having to experience having to go out and purchase an album or purchase a film or purchase a game. Physically going out. I play on the Xbox or whatever, and I just literally buy the game online and I play it online. They don't ask for any age restrictions on that as well, and that's the concern. And I think it's the exact same with music, and it's the exact same with, sadly, it's the exact same with films. And I think being able to access things at a click of a button without actually having to go out and speak to another human to purchase something is quite. It takes that power away from those who would govern those restrictions.
It comes down to individual trying to police and parents, leaving it up to parents to obviously allow or disallow their children to watch or listen to certain things. Have you noticed the difference, Ben, in sort of what the young people are listening to? Would you say that genres have become more popular?
Yeah, there has been a difference, obviously, because I'm relatively young, but I feel like even like between between me and my friends who are 18, and like compare our taste in music to like perhaps younger people, like high school children. I'd say even that's completely different. Like where a lot of my friends they're into their rap, not so much grime. It's more like Drake, Eminem, all them type of rappers.
Yeah.
And obviously now when you're looking like schools and what have you, you'll get people listening to completely different type of rappers, like literally like drill artists, where it's literally a split between like 4 years, something like that. And just through that 3 or 4 year gap, music's changed a lot.
Music has changed a lot, and trends have changed a lot. And you'll find that obviously at any time, if you're in school and everybody's talking about a song or an artist or a certain type of music, then you want to be involved in that conversation. You want to be involved in whatever they're talking about, and you find that then people obviously get into it, and that's how they find their ways into it, because they want to be part of a group or part of a social circle, because that's the type of music they like. So you can find kids end up influencing each other to obviously go and listen to these things. And at the moment, I think some genres are seen as quite cool and trendy, and old genres such as disco may be dying out, something very light-hearted, but at one time that was the cool and upcoming genre. So I think obviously things change, don't they? Culture changes, and one thing goes out of fashion, another thing comes into fashion. That's all it is.
Yeah, 100%.
It's quite distinct, like the changes in the eras. Like, it's interesting that we mentioned about that, because like if you take even starting really from the 1920s, every single decade you could go and you'd listen to a song and you go, yeah, that's from that era. That's from the 1950s. That's from the 1980s. That's from 2000, whenever. So, and it's when you're living through it, you don't notice it. That sort of that culture change in music. But when you've lived through it and you go back to it and you go, actually, yeah, I can see see the changes happening in music. But when you don't consider it, I don't think, when you're necessarily living through that particular moment. You're just enjoying the music that's readily available in the UK, in charts.
Like you say, and in years' time, we're going to turn around and see this as something of an era, and that's what the 2020 will be part of, maybe more drill and grime based genres. But it's all interesting. It's all interesting. It's been a really interesting conversation with you both as well. So I'd just like to say thank you for coming on to the podcast and talking about how music influences young people. So cheers, thank you for that.
Yeah, no worries. Anytime.
And make sure to tune back in next week for My Voice podcast.